Morel Orel is a show that shouldn't have been cancelled, but was. My goal here is not to tell the whole story of Morel Orel. I mean, there are endless playlists on the show for people to watch on YouTube. Today's video is about episode 12 in season 3. For those that don't know, this episode is after the infamous sacrifice episode, but this is a story for another day. The episode starts 3 months before the other things depicted in season 3. Orel and a group of other villagers are protesting against egg. Yes, egg. Because they come from between the thighs of chicken legs. I assume that the similarity between human birth and childbirth is being drawn here, but hey, you just never know. Orel wants to continue lobbying and realizes that the only way that he can get what he wants is if he meets the mayor and convinces the mayor to outlaw eggs. Orel is scared, but goes to the mayor's office because he knows that that is the only way that he can get eggs banned. When Orel approaches, he realizes that his father is the mayor.
Mr. Mayor, I'm here to suggest—
Orel?
Dad!
What are you doing here?
I honestly cannot fathom this. I mean, is this a commentary on how politicians act nicely in public but mistreat their families and quote-unquote loved ones in secret? Clay always complains about his job, so I originally thought that he was probably working in an office or something like that. I guess that I should have been smarter, because why would a village have offices? The presidential music and Orel's shaking voice made me laugh because I just couldn't fathom, was I supposed to take this scene seriously? Again, Clay continues to complain about his job and that it's a dead-end job, but he's literally on top of the village pyramid, really honing in on how unlikable and horrible Clay is. Orel brings the reason for why he's in the mayor's office, saying that he wants to ban eggs. Clay tries to counter, citing that banning eggs would make him unpopular. This really shows Clay wanting to keep and maintain public image, while actually not being a good person. One of the villagers that had been protesting with Orel is actually not for the egg ban, and that is Miss Sentinel. A breakdown for her last name is necessary, but I am afraid that I do not have the facilities for that. Long story short, Miss Sentinel loves eggs and writes a letter to Clay threatening him that if he were to ban eggs, his days in the office would be numbered. Like a witch, basically. Miss Sentinel is almost like the Wicked Witch of the West. I mean, in the beginning of the episode, they pan in on her and her house, and the music playing in the background is just absolutely conniving. It's scary, it's maniacal, and it makes sense. I saw a magnificent Reddit post about Miss Sentinel, so I just want to shout it out. I completely agree with the points made in this post, because I do think that the obsession that Miss Sentinel has for eggs is synonymous with her lack of fertility, and also her obsession with childbirth and children. I had no idea that she was barely 40. I thought that she was genuinely in her late 50s or 60s, and yeah, it's giving witch. So key points here. People don't always say what's in their mind. Isn't that lying? Isn't that a sin? Or is it only a sin when kids do it? Why do adults get more leeway when they should know better? That's something that's confused me about this show, is that it seems that the kids get punished for every little thing. Kids lie about not going to school, they get in trouble, but Clay can lie about literally every single thing, be a creep, just be horrible. Every other adult pretty much is also horrible, but there's no consequences for that because they're an adult.
Orel, people don't always say what's on their mind.
You would think that, oh, the older you get, the more likely you're supposed to know better, the more likely you're supposed to be the one who gets punishment. These wonderful questions just keep popping into my mind every single time I watch Morel Orel, because there's just so much hypocrisy. When Orel continues to argue with his father to discuss the disgustingness of eggs, Clay has an absolutely disgusting fantasization that I will not be putting on this screen because, first of all, I just couldn't stomach it, and I don't know if there's people out there who also can't stomach it, so I just won't do that. If you want to see it, it is readily available on YouTube. You can literally find so many playlists that will show you the scene with it tagged. But long story short, Clay has Oedipus complex. For those that don't know what Oedipus complex means, it was coined by Sigmund Freud in 1899. And it basically just means that a son has a attraction or desire for their mother, if you catch my drift. Yeah, that's what Clay has, and it kind of makes sense. Anyways, Oedipus Rex is such a good play, and I think that if you are interested in reading or old literature, anything like that, I definitely think that you should definitely go check that out and read it. It's pretty interesting, and the book is not exactly like the complex. It's actually kind of sad. The book is actually kind of sad. So back on to Morel Orel. Clay says that he is disgusting, and I completely agree. After fantasizing about things that we will not be discussing in this video, that I will not be showing in this video, he admits that he is disgusting, and I agree because he is disgusting. Very disgusting. Because of these fantasizations that Clay has, he decides to ban eggs. And innocent Orel, unknowing of what just happened, is happy. Fast forward back to the present, Orel is in crutches because of God knows what, and is in Mr. Figurelli's store for, again, God knows what reason. One thing that made me laugh was the fact that rather than having Easter eggs, they had Easter watermelons. I was just thinking, like, aren't those a little too big for the baskets? Like, how can kids be carrying, like I don't know, baskets of watermelons for the Easter egg, for the Easter watermelon hunt? I don't know if they even do that. But Clay is horrible, and innocent Orel continues to bear the pain for that, as we've seen. I mean, Clay should literally be arrested and thrown in jail and never be let out, but a story for another day. If there was a tier for abuse, I'm pretty sure shooting your own son and thinking that you're the victim in this situation, that would be God tier. Miss Sentinel sees Orel in the store and almost coerces him into admitting that it was Clay who shot him. She was basically just insinuating, like, oh, what happened? And of course, Orel, he continues to insist that he shot himself. And again, this is just proving the innocence of Orel and his desire to protect his family, even though his mother doesn't really care for him and his pathetic father should be rotting in jail, and he also does not care for him. Miss Nesterdle, I so bad want to call her Miss Nesterdle, but we're just gonna call her Miss Sensordle, coerces Orel into backtracking against eggs. And the way she does it is absolutely disgusting to me, and it makes me feel uncomfortable. I just can't really explain it, but it's just so uncomfortable. And Mr. Figurelli is literally me in this scene. Like, shout out to Mr. Figurelli. Orel now starts to help Miss Sensible campaign for the matriarch against Clay, his father, so that eggs can come back. Clay sees that Orel is helping Sensible's campaign and is angry. So they meet in the study, and at this point, Orel is already tired of his father, and he's kind of like, you want to hit me? Like, let's just get this over with. I mean, like, rightfully so. Clay basically tries to make Orel feel bad for campaigning for Miss Sensible, and Orel continues to assert that Clay doesn't even like his job. And of course, Clay is drinking, and he admits that he doesn't like his job, but he wants to keep it. Orel is unfazed by his father. This is the contrast to the beginning where Orel worships his father, wants to be like his father, and sees his father as a beam of light. Now he sees the patheticness that is his father. And that is very heartbreaking. During the mayoral debate, Clay's speech is very telling of his brokenness. His obsession with the repulsiveness of the squeeze that produce eggs, but his fondness for death that happens when hunting is worrisome. He starts talking about death, then spirals into how eggs symbolize the temptation of woman, then again his mother. I mean, the Oedipus complex in this one is strong. Like, it's very strong within this one. Hearing this speech, Miss Sentinel also starts to fantasize about eggs, and they both just start sexualizing eggs, which is just kind of crazy to me. And it just made me think these two are two sides of the same coin, both disgusting. Literally. Clay says mommy, like he literally says mommy in the speech, and Miss Sentinel replies. It is clear that both of these people have erotic fantasies about things that they definitely should not be having fantasies about. This also kind of highlights the uncomfortability in the interaction between Orel and Miss Sensible in Mr. Figurelli's store. Like, now that, like, after watching this scene, you can tell that Miss Sensible sees a son as not what a son should be, but something that it should not be. Catch my drift. Anyways, Miss Sensible forfeits and Clay is able to keep his job. Orel sees Miss Sensible forfeiting and basically goes to talk to her like, why are you quitting? Why are you like going? And Miss Sensible basically says,
There's no business running for office when there are books to burn.
Clay finally apologizes to Orel in order to get intel about Miss Sensible, but thankfully Orel sees through the BS, replying that people don't always tell the truth. Ha, right back at you. But when Clay pushes on about the horrors of the mind, Orel shows his innocence again. Clay asserts that the truth is the final boss, and the truth is not good. The truth will not set you free. The truth will keep you in hell, basically. Using this to manipulate Orel, who says that he actually knows nothing about Miss Sensible's plan and why she forfeited. Clay is angry and basically takes back the apology that he had just given to his son, saying that he doesn't feel bad for shooting him, which is just I just can't fathom. This just continues to prove the worthlessness of Clay. Like, it's not even masked or hidden anymore. Saying this really hurt Orel, and the scene of him just putting his head down, it really hurt my heart. Again, Orel is innocent, and his father is disgusting. The last scene in this episode depicts the winter, with Clay in the bar with his boyfriend when Sensible walks in. Clay succumbs again, showing his patheticness, and a relationship is born between the two. I will not be showing the last scene because it is genuinely disgusting, but I will give you a quick rundown. Clay talks to Sensible, asking her what is her plan, and Sensible basically says that she can be his mommy, and it's not normal. It's different. A couple of things that I found quite noteworthy about this show or this episode in particular is that there's clearly dimension to the characters being depicted. I mean, Reverend Putty, the Reverend, has a quite hilarious card plate. It's just not what I would expect from him. There's also hints to police brutality. For example, when Orel goes to Officer Papermouth to request that he arrest and make egg buying against the law, he basically says,
"But I can only employ police brutality when it's officially against the law."
Oh.
I find this both hilarious, true, and sad, really showing the multifaceted nature of this show.